1, 2, 3, 4. I got thoughts running through my head. I got thoughts, can't you see? I got thoughts, the books I read. I got thoughts, won't you listen to me?
Hello and welcome back to The Author Has Thoughts. I'm the author in question, Gary Ballard. I have been doing a series of my Various and Sundry videos. In this case, I'm talking about something very topical, the 2020 pandemic, coronavirus, COVID, whatever. So without further ado, let's continue the video. Office buildings are another place that they shouldn't be open. Or at the very least, they should be open on skeleton crews alone. Because if you work in an office like I do, you don't often have to actually be physically there. There are times you do. And again, there are certain jobs where you do. I agree with that. But if there is an office job right now that can be done from anywhere with an internet connection, it should be done that way. Anywhere and everywhere, it should be done that way. Now, it's not. There are people getting forced back into offices all the time. And I'm one of them. And I'm not happy about it, but I need to eat, so there you go. But one of the things about office buildings is, they say that you need good, proper ventilation to be in an office building for a long time and not, be exposed to it. Well, most, like 90% of the office buildings out there, you can't even open the window because they don't want people to kill themselves, jumping out of a window. Especially in, high-rise buildings. So there's that. There are industries that are going to be absolutely destroyed by this thing. And no amount of forcing people back or opening them or telling people the economy's back open, just do this and it'll be okay, none of that is going to help some of these industries. The only way that we're going to make it out this the other side, economically speaking, is by controlling the virus, stopping that spread, and keeping people in their homes and in money. At the beginning, I think back in March, they passed the stimulus, the first stimulus. The House, run by the Democrats, in May passed another stimulus, a $3 trillion stimulus bill, which Mitch McConnell will not, refuses to even, look at. But the things that the stimulus bill did, besides giving everybody $1,200, which was fine, I didn't necessarily need it, but it helped. I was able to get car fixed and do some other stuff. I spent it. I mean, it went gone. So, I helped the economy. So that stimulus was a one-time shot, and the extra money in unemployment was a time-limited thing. The moratorium on evictions and foreclosures was time-limited, and that time has expired. How bad do you think the economy is going to be, even if everything's open, when people are homeless, without a job? I mean, that's suddenly going to not have an effect? People got to have money. They got to eat. They got to have a roof over their head. You don't have a job, it's pretty hard to get. If you don't have a job and you don't have a house, an address, it's hard to get a job, to get a new job, especially when, again, we have 20% unemployment. We have entire sectors of the economy, like the restaurant industry, the theater industry, the bars and such, that can't be open, or at the very least aren't going to be open enough to justify hiring people. How do you think the economy is going to get better? Just by opening up, just by throwing kids in schools so that their mom and daddy can go to work at their hourly job. How in any way is that going to help? Because again, you send a child to school, he gets sick, has to quarantine, mama got to stay home with him. She can't go back to her job. She loses her job. How does that help anybody? How does that help the economy? It doesn't. The economy cannot function if we don't fix the virus, because people won't go to places. Let's say a restaurant opens, but again, social distancing requires that they have either outdoor dining or they have 50% capacity or only 25% capacity. Let's just say 50%. So right then and there, in an industry where margins are paper thin, 50% of your revenue just disappears, no matter what you do, in a good scenario where your employees don't get sick, people don't get sick from eating at your restaurant, all that stuff. 50% of your revenue just gone. Well, then probably 50% of your staff is gone. And the ones who are there, who were living on tips, well, their tips are cut in half, so suddenly they can't make rent, and they get evicted, and they're homeless, and now they can't keep their job because they can't get to their job on time because their car got repossessed. There's a whole lot of cascading effects that have absolutely nothing to do with the fucking stock market about our economy, and it's all interconnected. And without significant, effective stimulus, which includes unemployment extensions, bonuses to unemployment. I personally think it requires monthly universal basic income of between $1,000 to $1,500 a month for every American until this is over, every month. If you don't also prop up some of these industries that we know can't survive, like bars, restaurants, cruise ships, airlines, tourist traps, small businesses all over the country who are one location in a small town, if you don't give them money, just don't care, here's your money, they will go out of business. And that has a ripple effect everywhere because their employees don't have a paycheck and they have to get unemployment. And it's just a cycle. It's a spinning hurricane of economic shit. Stimulus is absolutely necessary or it will get worse. Now, I realize for the rich assholes that donate to the Republican Party and who make the money on the stock market, they're going to be fine. They gonna be fine. Because you know what? They can buy up those apartments that are all, empty for pennies on a dollar. Or all those homes that get foreclosed on for pennies on a dollar. Rent them out for higher than they would have made before. And keep making bank. Or, for most of them who have so much money that none of us can even comprehend it, they'll be just fine living off the interest. Just sell stocks every once in a while and here, okay, I need 100,000. Let me just go get this. Okay. People with wealth don't have anything to worry about in this. Sure, they may be a little less wealthy, but I mean, let's face it, if Jeff Bezos lost 50% of his fortune, and I think he was worth like 60-something billion, I don't even know. After $1 billion, you could literally lose 90% of the wealth you have. So you're at $1 billion and you go down to 100 million, and you will not see one drop in your material, in the quality of your material life. Not one. You might have to sell a house. A house. Not your house, just a house. So they'll be fine. Stock market will be fine. It's got to start below. It's got to start at the very bottom. Give people money. Let them survive. Let them get through this. And they will be the foundation for the economy growing when we can finally grow the economy. One last thing about the pandemic. Churches. Churches. Now, if you've watch this channel, you know I'm not a religious person. I consider myself a spiritual person, but I'm not a religious person. I don't subscribe to any particular religion. I don't. I don't go to church. Okay? So clearly I'm not going to fall down on the side of people who want to go to church. Churches need to be closed for the pandemic. Period. Shut down. Just lock the door. You want to have virtual services? That's fine. That's your bag, whatever. But you can't have the choir out there sitting, singing, spewing respiratory droplets, and you can't have fire and brimstone preachers from the pulpit yelling at the congregation. You can't have the congregation amening in the pews, cheek to jowl. You can't. There's already been multiple cases of super spreader events caused by churches. And it's quite funny that some of the arguments I've seen in favor of churches being open were, well, if bars can open, why can't churches? Well, first off, bars shouldn't be open. But are you comparing yourself to a business? Because if you are, you should be taxed like a business. I'm fine with that. But I realize most churches aren't. Most churches will fight you tooth and nail to keep their tax-exempt status. Churches should be closed. Plain and simple. But again, as you heard me earlier, I think office buildings should be closed too. Or skeleton crew. Very, very light skeleton crew. And only for the people who absolutely, positively have to be there. And they need to be wearing masks. And they need to be socially distanced. And so on and so forth. But that goes for everywhere. We're not going to lick this ignoring it. We're not going to lick this by taking the numbers and massaging them so that it looks like it's getting better when it's not. We're not going to lick this by opening the economy and letting people just act like they don't have any care in the world. We've clearly shown in this country that even when you tell people that you have to lock down for your own good, the fuckers don't listen. In my state, we had about a month's worth of lockdown. Month and a half, maybe. And I mean actual lockdown. And even then, I went out to the grocery store and was appalled. Because people were just running around willy-nilly, no mask, no nothing, just doing whatever, not giving a fuck in the world, getting up in your face, standing up behind you when you're at the checkout line and all that. It's a fucking pandemic, people. What are you doing? What are you doing? We didn't pay attention to it. And now my state has between 800 to 1,700 cases a day. When we locked down, it was at about 100 to 200 a day. New cases. If we had to lock down then, why don't we have to lock down now? Because we have masks now? But even then, it's not a statewide mandate on masks. There's localities and places. But there's places like Arizona where the governor actually overrode local ordinances against local ordinances that were mask mandates. Texas did the same thing. Said you can't, if the governor doesn't say that we have a mask mandate, you can't force people in Austin to wear a mask. The governor of Georgia sued the mayor of Atlanta for setting up a mask mandate. Why? What are you doing? What are you doing? The schools are a whole another issue, and I'm not going to get too far into those, but as someone whose mother spent 30 years 20 plus 30 years teaching, whose sister was a teacher for I don't know 5-10 years, something like that, it offends me that President Trump and other officials want to treat these schools like they're supposed to do this. They're making them essential workers. And they're essential, I agree. They're not paid like it. They're not treated like it. But trying to force teachers back into the classroom and expecting them to be able to make kids socially distance, keep masks on, and all this kind of stuff. It's not going to happen. You are creating new super spreader events. University of North Carolina has already had to shut back down again because their kids got sick in the dorm. Of course they did. Of course they did. This isn't over. You can't just run back out like nothing's happening. Every school that makes it through without huge outbreaks, there's going to be another school that's going to have a huge outbreak and going to have to shut down. And the worst part about it is you're going to get kids killed, you're going to get teachers killed, you're going to get mamas and grandmamas and daddies and granddaddies killed. And in the end, it won't help the economy one fucking bit, because the economy will not be able to function properly without stimulus and without control of the virus. Now, I've gone on a long time. I don't even know how many. This is probably only like 3, 4, 5 videos. But I think I've pretty much said my piece about this. 2020 has been a shitty year. A lot of dead people that didn't have to be dead. A lot of stupidity. The best hope we have right now, in the U.S. anyway, is to go in and elect a president and a Congress and local, state government that actually understands how to control the pandemic. And just to give a little endorsement here, Joe Biden has dealt with a pandemic in the past. The aforementioned H1N1 virus that happened on Obama and Biden's watch. They had 12,000 deaths. 12,000 deaths compared to 176,000 and going. So keep that in mind. My name is Gary Ballard. I am an author. Hope you read my books. Sorry this has been such a downer, but it's one of those things that had to be said. So let's all go do better. Let's stop tearing each other's faces off over masks. Wear your mask. You know, stay away from people. Stay in your house as much as you can. You know, stay safe. I don't want any more of you guys to die. I don't want any more of you guys to get sick. I want us to come out of this on the other side a little bit better for the crucible we've been put through. So, my name's Gary Ballard. I'm an author, and this has been my thoughts.